Welcome to this explainer. Today we're looking into something wild. We are going to optimize something you literally do all day long, every single day, but probably never even think about. Yep, I'm talking about breathing. We kind of treat it like background noise, right? It just happens. But actually, your breath is like this invisible lever. And when you learn how to pull it the right way, boom, you unlock better health, massive athletic performance, and laser-sharp mental focus. So I gotta hit you with a really direct question right off the bat. Are you breathing wrong? I know, it sounds totally ridiculous to ask if you're messing up the one thing keeping you alive. But honestly, our baseline assumptions about our own bodies, they're often completely flawed. A lot of us are actually relying on these super inefficient breathing patterns, and it's leaving our performance and our overall well-being just stuck in second gear.
Okay, don't just take my word for it. Let's do a little real-time test right now. Come on, play along with me. First, put one hand flat on your chest. Got it? Now put your other hand on your belly. Okay, take a nice, deep breath in. So, which hand rose? If your chest or your shoulders went up and your belly basically stayed flat, well, you just found your breathing blind spot. And this brilliantly illustrates exactly what's going on behind the scenes. When we rely on chest breathing, the breaths are shallow. It creates all this tension in those little neck and shoulder muscles. And worse, it actually signals panic to your nervous system. You're working so hard, but you're just not getting much air. The fix? Diaphragmatic breathing. The right way to do this is to fully engage that diaphragm, letting those lower ribs and your abdomen really expand. This pulls a huge, rich volume of air down into your lungs, just flooding your whole system with precious oxygen.
So here is the game plan, a roadmap to building your complete breathing toolkit. Number 1, healing with pursed lips. Number 2, the endurance engine. 3, power and strength training. And finally, number 4, the ocean breath.
Let's jump into Section 1, Healing with Pursed Lips for Everyday Lung Health.
This first tool is incredibly powerful, especially if you're managing conditions like asthma or COPD. To really grasp why this works, let's look at this awesome metaphor from Mark Courtney. He's a respiratory therapist over at the American Lung Association. He says to think of our lungs like a screen door with a spring, the kind that snaps shut on its own. But over time, especially with chronic lung issues, our lungs kind of lose that springiness. They don't snap back to their resting state, so stale air literally just gets trapped inside. And when that stale air builds up, there's no room for the diaphragm to contract and bring in the good stuff, the fresh oxygen. So your body panics and resorts to using those neck and chest muscles we just talked about, which completely zaps your energy and tanks your oxygen levels. But the fix is brilliantly simple. Enter the pursed lip breathing technique. Here's how you do it. Step 1, sit down and just inhale nice and slow through your nose. Step 2, pucker your lips, kind of like you're getting ready to gently blow out a candle. And step 3, exhale slowly and gently right through those pursed lips. The trick here is making sure your exhale takes at least twice as long as your inhale. By doing this for just like 5 to 10 minutes a day, you actually create this internal back pressure that forces your airways to stay open a little longer. It's a simple mechanical shift, but it clears out all that trapped stale air and totally resets your lung capacity.
Moving right along to Section 2, the endurance engine. Breathing for cyclists. Okay, let's pick up the pace a bit. We're going to apply these tools directly to cardio and cycling performance. Now, if you hang around endurance athletes at all, you know there is a massive ongoing debate, nasal breathing versus mouth breathing. And look, both have absolutely valid uses. Nasal breathing is fantastic for those easy or steady endurance rides. It warms the air and naturally calms your rhythm down so you don't overexert yourself. But it does limit how much air you can pull in. Mouth breathing, on the flip side, is all about maximum airflow. You absolutely need it when you're fighting for air on a brutal, steep climb or in the middle of a sprint, even if it dries your throat out way faster. So the main takeaway, don't handcuff yourself to one rigid rule. Use your nose for steady states, but hey, open your mouth when you need that engine to roar.
So how do you actually breathe rhythmically when you're under pressure? Let's map your effort levels right to your pedal strokes. Syncing your breath to your cycling cadence is literally like unlocking invisible free speed. On an easy recovery ride, you might inhale for 3 or 4 pedal strokes, and then exhale for 4 to 6 strokes. Bump it up to a tempo pace, and that tightens up, maybe 2 to 3 strokes breathing in, 3 to 4 breathing out. But when you hit a really hard threshold, you're looking at a fast 1 to 2 strokes in and 1 to 2 strokes out. By locking your breathing pattern directly to your pedaling, you stabilize your core, you stop that random panicky gasping, and you keep your nervous system incredibly calm, even when the road kicks up.
Section 3, power and strength training. Lifting heavy. Now we are ramping the intensity all the way up. When you're in the gym,
Proper breathing isn't just about getting oxygen. It translates directly into sheer physical power and absolute spine stability. For most of your workouts, you're going to use the standard lifting breath. You inhale during the eccentric phase. That's when you're lowering the weight or loading up the muscle. Then you exhale during the concentric phase, when you're actively pushing or pulling that weight. Exhaling forcefully right through the sticking point, the absolute hardest part of the lift, gives you this massive boost of energy. Plus, it safely manages those inevitable spikes in your blood pressure.
But now, what's really fascinating is what happens when we look at elite heavy lifting. Say hello to the Valsalva maneuver. This is a super advanced technique used for those heavy ground-based structural lifts, like a massive squat or a deadlift. Here, you inhale right before the push, and you actually hold your breath. By bracing your core this way, you dramatically spike your intra-abdominal pressure. It essentially turns your entire torso into this rigid, solid cylinder. That safely stabilizes your vertebral column and lets you transfer maximum force right into the barbell without your spine buckling. It's wild.
Huge warning here, though. The Valsalva maneuver is absolutely not for beginners. Holding your breath under near maximum loads causes some intense pressure spikes. We're talking potential dizziness or even vomiting. No joke. So if you have any known cardiovascular, metabolic, or respiratory conditions, do not attempt this. It really requires careful coaching and a very solid foundation of lifting experience first.
And finally, Section 4, the ocean breath for mental calmness. Let's step out of the gym for a second, drop our shoulders, and just slow the pace way down. This final tool in our kit is engineered for profound mental calmness and regulating your nervous system. In yogic traditions, it's known as Ujjayi Pranayama, or the victorious breath. Basically, you slightly constrict the glottis, that's right at the back of your throat, while taking these really slow, deep breaths in and out through your nose. Think of it kind of like gently sipping air through a straw. It limits how much air moves at any given moment, stretching your breath out into this long, silky thread. Because of that physical constriction, it produces this incredibly soft, soothing sound. It actually sounds a lot like distant ocean waves rolling onto a beach, and at the same time, it generates this really nice, warming internal heat in your body. The physiological shifts this creates are just incredible. Ujjayi directly activates your parasympathetic nervous system. That's your body's rest and digest mode. It lowers your blood pressure, drops your heart rate, and visibly reduces cortisol, the stress hormone, easing your anxiety. And because it requires this steady, audible rhythm, it acts as a perfect anchor for a racing mind, really enhancing your mental clarity and focus. It even stimulates your vagus nerve to help with digestion, and it aids in cellular detoxification by maximizing how well you absorb oxygen. It quite literally shifts your entire body out of that frantic fight or flight panic and right into a deep, restorative state. Just a quick note of caution on this one. Because you are physically constricting your throat, practicing Ujjayi for a long time can occasionally cause some mild throat irritation or a bit of dizziness, especially if you're a beginner. So if you happen to suffer from severe respiratory issues, naturally low blood pressure, or heart disease, just approach this gently, and honestly, it's always best to chat with a medical professional first. Well, we have covered a ton of ground today, from healing stale lungs and stabilizing heavy squats, all the way to anchoring an anxious mind. Which brings us to one final provocative thought. You take roughly 20,000 breaths every single day. How many of them will you actually control? Your breath isn't just background noise. It is a powerful tool, and you now have the exact levers to pull, whether you need to heal, perform at your peak, or just find your calm. I challenge you to actively apply just one of these tools in your very next breath. Thanks so much for exploring the science of breathing with me on this explainer. Keep learning, keep breathing, and I'll see you next time.